It's going to be a busy week this week. Not going to be planting any seeds this week, but going to be potting up all those seedlings that we have growing, and I am going to be planting the horseradish this week. Plus, I got to pot up the potatoes from those big containers they're growing in into smaller pots, and then allow them to grow before I transfer them into the buckets or into the garden itself. So as I said, I'm behind on everything. My potatoes have really sprouted up. These are russets. These are from the refrigerator. They're starting to grow. So I got to pot them up. I'm going to put them in individual containers like this because I don't think they'll fit in the solo cups that I used last year. We'll see when I take them out of this container. But yeah, I'm a little behind. All the potatoes look like this, so I got to get them in. So I'm going to gently ease them out of this pot. And because I don't remember how many potatoes are in here. I think I said there was like 5 or 6 in each container. Oh, you can see the roots coming out the bottom. So yeah, they're doing fine in here. Come on, guys. There we go. Oh, wow. Yeah, we got good roots here. And this might not have been the best idea, putting 5 or 6. But of course, as I said, I wasn't planning on waiting this long. So I'm gonna have to try and tease these roots apart a bit so I can separate the potatoes out of here. It's gonna just be a lot of gentle teasing because they're starting to see how they're growing up the side of the container. I'll be back in a minute when I figure out how I'm gonna do this. Okay, it was just a matter of gently teasing them apart, but I did pull it right off a potato here. I don't know whether or not this will still grow into something without the potato there, because I know it gets a lot of its energy from the potato. So I'm going to try and stick it into a cup and see if it does anything. It might just die, which is annoying, but serves me right. But I got all the potatoes separated out, and now I'm going to put them into individual pots. So I'm going to, oh, that's got a potato on it here. I'm going to take this one. I got a cup here. Got a lot of root in there. So I'm going to throw this all into this cup, covered up with soil, and see if we can salvage it. This year's looking like a disaster already. We've hardly started. So looking at the potatoes, I do think they can still go into a solo cup. So I am going to do that. I'm going to put them into the solo cup. And interestingly, you can see here on this shoot that it's got more roots, almost like, like tomatoes. So this was buried in the pot up to here. As you can see, this is green, this is white down here, but it started putting out roots down here. So I'm going to try and put them in the cups and let them leaf out a bit, grow into a little bit sturdier plant before I end up putting them in the buckets. So quite the suboptimal start to the growing season, but we'll get it done, and hopefully it'll turn out okay. Back here, we've got just the plant with roots. This one's got the potato and the roots that came off of it that were separate. And then these are all potatoes with growth on them. So, very inauspicious start. But we're going to start getting all the potatoes out there real quick before we start having problems. So with some of these that had really long stems, I ended up putting a stick in there and just loosely tied the potato stem to the stick so that it wouldn't break. I can end up cutting that off later on. I did it on one back there too. But this is not a good start, and it's what happens when you get lazy and you just keep putting things off. So now I got to go into hurry up mode and get all the other potatoes into the cups or bigger pots like this. since this one was so tall, and I decided I would be able to put it into a container like this, but not really, because it's the same size as the cup height-wise, so it really didn't matter. But at the time, it sounded good. As I'm separating these potatoes, these are russets, and these were the ones stored in the root cellar. I've noticed that a bunch have had rotting problems on the stems. Like the stems grew and then they stopped growing, and you can see they're dying right there. And I've noticed that on a couple. You can actually see it right here as well. These are fine. Now, this soil is very dry. Is that the case? And I think this one might end up having a problem too. So I'm not sure if there's going to be an issue with these potatoes, but it was something that I noticed. I mean, most of the potatoes that I've been planting have some really strong plant growth on them. But these, they haven't sprouted as quick as the ones that were kept in the refrigerator, which I think is interesting. And then the tops seem to be much weaker. Just an interesting observation. So I got a horseradish from the same place I got one last year. This one didn't have quite as many buds on it. It's only got this one right here that I can see. So I'm not gonna cut this up into 6 pieces like I did last time. I'm only gonna do 3. So I'm gonna give just that'll be 1. And then don't know if any of these will grow, but we'll see. Gotta say, this actually feels a little spongy here. I've got some containers that I've got, and I'm gonna try and do that angle thing. Like I had said last year, from what I've seen, you're supposed to plant them at a 45-degree angle. Again, I don't know that that matters, but it can't hurt. And then this last one, we'll dig it in. And then I've got some potting mix, and I'm just gonna put it right on top. And we'll see which, if any of them, grow this year. And then we'll plant these in a half-barrel whiskey barrel, and rather than in the buckets. Maybe there just wasn't enough room for them to grow last year. Although I've seen other people do it. Didn't work for me, so I'm gonna try and give them a little more space. So we've got our horseradish planted, and we'll have more things to come, but this is what we got going for this week. Deciding to intensively grow a lot of vegetables ends up being a lot of work. You end up having a lot of individual containers then for the plants that you want to start early. I try not to go too early with my vegetables, only because I know storage room is limited. And even though I have this greenhouse here, overnight it really doesn't protect the plants. I could, I guess, put a fleece over them or something like that, and I'll probably end up doing that more in the future. But right now, it's just my indoor grow room, which is pretty small, not very well coordinated. Right now, it just means I got a lot of plants everywhere. So if you want to see what we were doing in the garden last week, check out this video right here. If you find these videos informative or you get any value out of them, consider supporting the channel by visiting our Spreadshop store. We've got hats, we've got coffee mugs, we've got all kinds of things you can wear and use in the garden. I'll put a link in the description below. And then subscribe and hit that notification bell, and that way you can follow along in the progress on all of our vegetables as we try to grow a supermarket in our own backyard. Let's grow something awesome.